Welcome to The Grind and Glow.
Real talk, real estate, real life.
I'm Kathy Garcia.
And I'm Megan Black. We're two unlikely friends turned business partners bringing you real, unfiltered conversations about the real estate world and the wild ride that comes with it.
From industry highs and lows to behind the scene moments you won't believe, we're here to keep it fun, relatable, and refreshingly real.
Expect laughs, lessons, and a little chaos along the way.
Because in real estate and life, things don't always go as planned.
Let's get real. Let's talk real estate. Let's dive in. So Tom, welcome to the show.
We're so excited. You are our first guest.
You
Wow.
are.
You are.
What an honor.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When we thought about who we wanted, we're like, okay, we need somebody fun. We need somebody who we know, like and trust for real estate. But we thought about you because every time, I remember when you would come into the room, we would always laugh. We would have a good time and good conversation. So
Oh, cool. Well,
for
thank you.
being
Very
here.
complimentary.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So Tom, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know we met on a team, right? We met on a team. Tell me what made you go into real estate, because I think the three of us, this is not our first career.
No.
Right? So do you kind of want to go back to...
Okay, so I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but I had planned to retire at 50. I'm 57 now, I think. I'd planned to retire at 50. And my partner passed away, and I had none of my buddies that were ready to do, like to hang out and golf, and so I would have went nuts. So I was buying and selling real estate for investments, and I knew a neighbor of mine who our kids went to school with owned, currently still owns a practice, a real estate practice. So when I was buying and selling using them, they're like, why don't you get your license? You can get 3 free transactions a year where you don't have to pay one side of the deal. And I was like, well, that's a no-brainer. That's kind of cool. I loved being on Realtor. I loved being on Zillow.
Yeah.
I was always, every weekend.
You
and-
were those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't calling for appointments and,
Okay, good.
not showing, but I was the guy on there.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I gave it a shot. I decided to join a team for the support. I didn't know, not knowing the business, trying to just hang your own shingle and go without experience, I didn't think was a good idea.
Yeah.
I figured I'd go to a team that was well respected and train their agents well and have that support.
Yeah.
And
And that's where we met.
yeah, and thank God I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it changed everything. Like, to have the tools and the people for support, like going into your office and talking to you outside of like the whole group situation, or having one-on-ones with people just what they were going through and what I was going through, because I struggled when I first started.
But then I also remember you were doing amazing with new construction. Like, it was always, Tom got somebody under contract, Tom.
It took a long time. Like, I went 3 to 4 months without my first deal. I think I started mirroring or showing assistant, whatever the term was for it, with an agent, and I didn't get a lot of exposure. So in July, I think July 4th weekend, I said, hey, I want to
Go on your own.
I want to go on my own and try this. And I don't think I got a deal until September or October. And I think a lot of agents go in thinking that they can just walk into the career, and it's like, oh man, you can make big money. This is easy. You just, I know a lot of people, and that's not the way it is. I knew a lot of people, but of those people, how many of them are in the situation where they're ready to sell or buy?
Right.
Not many.
Yeah. No, and I completely agree. I'll tell you, like I've said it before on this podcast, I definitely excelled in my career because I was on a team. Like, having those trainings, being in the rooms with people like you, like Kathy, like other people, like having that opportunity definitely, because listen, I was in the same boat as you. Like, I
remember talking to you. I'm like, keep plugging. You were making calls like nuts.
She was like a robot.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was grinding. You know?
were.
And so I think I'm in the same boat as you, like where it took a minute to get that thing going.
Yeah,
You know?
it snowballs.
Yeah.
You get that traction, that confidence after your first one and stuff. And I think the important part to put to that to add context and people don't get is that it is the sales funnel. You need to be filling up the top for stuff to trickle.
Yeah.
And when you're a new agent, you have such few leads that you're not spending your time working the leads. You're spending time to get the leads.
Creating.
Yeah, so once you get those leads, albeit from Zillow or from your Sphere, however you generate them yourself, then you can spend time working the ones as they're moving down the funnel. And then so I think that's why it takes a ramp-up period of a few months to get to a point where you do see some success.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, how is that with new construction? Because you kind of went that route. Like, how, if an agent is going to go into like general brokerage versus new construction, are they better off as far as like, let's say that you have to have money, you don't have any savings, but you want to be full-time in real estate? From your experience, what do you think is?
Well, I think you can get your financial footing quicker if you go to new construction. And the reason being is that typically when you're in a sales office, buyers are coming in to see your product. If you have a good product, if you have a good price, if you have good incentives, if you have a good management team that'll work with you guys when you bring them an offer and they're not like, nope, we're like CarMax, this is our price. It enables you to have success. And if you sell a quick move-in, something that's already done, a spec home that's just sitting there waiting, you can get paid the next month if it's a 30-day close.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're in general brokerage, that's not the case. You're starting from scratch. So there are pros and cons. The reason, getting back to what you said, the reason with me getting the new construction is that we were all running around showing these used homes, and some of them, sometimes you have a buyer and a price point where the homes aren't going to be in the best quality.
Right.
And so I would say to them, hey, like, are you willing to drive 10 minutes further each day to work? And they'd say, yeah. And I'd say, come with me. And then I'd show them this bright, shiny penny for the same price that they're buying a beat-up old used home in a market 10 minutes away.
No-brainer.
I was able to have success. And the great thing was I would show up in the community. I'd call the agent before I went, let them know I was coming, and try to see if they'd let me add some value, like where I could negotiate for something before I even went in. But I just sit back and let that sales agent, they know their product better than I do. I just sat back and it's like, here's my client. Give me a call when you guys are, when you're ready.
That's my favorite thing about new construction. Literally, I love it when someone's like, yeah, I want new construction. I'm like, yes.
That agent does the hard sell.
Yeah, they do.
But I would say, why buy a previously owned home when they have an older water heater or an older roof and they have no warranty and an older HVAC system? Like, you can go new construction, get warranties, and if you time it right and you're the first one in the phase or in phase one, those are typically the lowest price times those homes will be on the market, barring any kind of crash.
Yeah. So just so everybody knows, can you kind of talk about what phases are?
Yeah, so a phase, like when a builder comes in, if they have a community and they're going to build 300 homes in that community, so that would be the total build out. Sometimes development, the way they develop the property and the way they get their permits and stuff from the town, it comes in blocks or in phases. So they'll say, okay, our first phase of the 300 is going to be 75 units. And then we're going to move to phase two. They might introduce new models in a different phase, a different section of the community. It's just kind of like a rollout, so to speak. Some builders don't. They don't really do a phase. They just,
Go for it.
Yeah, they have their community. They try to plan the build along a street, not just one here, one there, one there. It's not efficient to be moving your trades around that much. So
no, I try to do the same thing. Like when I talk to clients, like I had a client that actually we're closing next week, and it was similar, like where they were getting in phase one, and the interest rate was phenomenal.
Yeah.
The incentives were phenomenal, and I was like, immediately, I'm like, look, we can get you in a manufactured home because they're at a lower price point. We can get you in a manufactured home, but your value is not going to remain. Or, like you said, we can drive 10 minutes, and I can get you in it was like a 3.99% interest rate with $5,000 in closing costs. Yeah, and it's a stick-built home, so the value is going to stay with the home, and everything's new.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing about that, too, is that people don't realize if they get pre-qualified and it's like $300,000, typically with an outside lender, and by that I mean not the builder's lender, so anyone outside of the builder, they might be looking at current market rates like today at 7%. So they might say, okay, the max that you can borrow is $300,000. If you take those people to a new construction place, a lot of times, and I used to tell my people, you can't beat what the builder is offering with their lenders because they are throwing closing costs. So someone in that price point needs that help. They are throwing in a fridge, washer, and dryer, which can save $3,000 to $5,000 for your buyer.
Yeah.
So there's so many pluses for that. But then all of a sudden, they can offer a 3.99 rate.
It's a cherry on top.
Yeah, we offered 4.99 like 4 weeks ago, and now it's 5.49 on select homes, and
which is still great.
because buyers buy builders buy millions of dollars worth of loans, and they put it in a bucket, and then national builders, everybody in the country is dipping into that bucket, and when it empties, they go back and buy hundreds of millions more to drive traffic to their site. But it also means that buyer now, everyone really cares about their monthly cost. What is my total monthly cost? So you have to tell your buyers, don't worry that the house is $320. At 3.99, you're going to pay less than a home at $300 at 7%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a mindset for them, and it is
point.
pretty powerful because you can say, okay, you were 300 in Cary, but we're not going to find you something there, but we can go, now you're 325 in Garner or somewhere.
Exactly.
Right.
So-
Yeah, that was literally what happened with these clients. They needed their monthly payment to be around $1,800 a month.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't going to qualify for, $300,000 loan with a typical lender because they just weren't going to qualify.
Yeah.
Their payments were going to be too expensive. So when I found this new construction for 3.99% interest rate, I'm like, listen, and they were so confused at first. They were like, well, we can't because we're maxed out right here. And I was like, no, you're maxed out right here with this interest rate.
Exactly.
And getting people to wrap their head around, I think a lot of people get stuck on that like sticker price.
They do, and that's why I
Yeah.
was saying that's the hard thing. So yes, I'm going to show you a home at 320. Don't be like, oh my God, 320, that's more. I was only approved for 300. It's like, no, what you care about is your monthly
Exactly.
cost. So
I mean, listen, to be honest with you, if you spread $20,000 or $30,000 over 30 years, and your monthly payments are going to be $5 more, versus if you go with the typical or resale home, and your interest rate's more, it might look like less, but you're going to pay significantly more a month.
Yeah.
That's why homes during COVID that's why people were qualified for so much, as the interest rates were so low. So people could spend more money because the money didn't cost as much.
Yeah. And now we've got a market where everyone's sitting on a 2 and 3% mortgage and don't want to put their house up for sale. So what happens?
Me.
Yeah.
I'm that example.
Exactly. And there's a lot of people like you. So so the secondary market or resale market for primary homes has low inventory. And so what happens then? Where do they come? They come to new construction.
Exactly.
And what community are you in now?
So I'm in Camden Place in Anger.
You were doing great in new construction. I mean, to me, you were the king of new construction. So what made you go from general brokerage to new construction? If you want to talk a little bit about that. And I think Megan touched a little bit for new agents, right? What would you recommend? Do you think it's a good idea to get your footing in the door, know the verbiage, just how to talk to people, or go straight to new construction?
I think there's pros and cons. I mean, obviously with new construction, you're giving up all your holidays and all your weekends.
Yeah.
I mean, we get one Saturday or one weekend off a quarter.
Wow,
a quarter.
And those are typically your most productive times. I mean, it may vary with different builders, but that's what the builder that I work for, that's what they offer. So there's a drawback there. I mean, I think our holidays are July 4th, Christmas Day, New Year's Day, and maybe one other. So you really are committed to that office, to that community, to that space. And, on your days off, mine are Monday and Tuesday, I'm typically stopping in the office because I have to write an offer or I have to do something.
Yeah.
So you really don't get a lot of time off in it.
And
So
you're not
that's
a 9
drawback.
to 5 either, because when I do contracts with new construction, it could be 8:00 and we're still going back and forth.
Oh, for sure.
So there's that, I think, misconception. Like, okay, it's not an office job, but you're done at 5 or whatever time you clock out.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Yeah, it's 10 to 6, except for daylight savings, it's 10 to 5.
Okay.
But, I mean, we want the sale as much as you guys want the sale. So if you contact me at 6 o'clock with questions, most agents, at least most agents that I know and work with, tend to their phones and tend to their emails. I got an email from a guy last night at 11 o'clock asking me to send the pre-qual link to them, and I was more than obliged to do that. It shows fast service. He's happy with me. It's good service to the client, to his buyer, that they get their answers quick. And time kills all deals. We've been taught that.
Oh,
so to be able to be responsive and you have to set priorities.
Yeah.
And when you're in general brokerage, you have more flexibility as to your schedule, when you want to get up, when you want to start, how late you want to work. You can schedule your appointments, and there is a freedom for that. But it's difficult. And being a new agent, it is not easy to be good at real estate. You have to put in the hours and the time, and you really need some bankroll up front, because it's going to be a lot of lean months till you get paid.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was, I've said this before too, but there were probably about beginning of last year, I was struggling so bad. I thought I was having a deal that was closing, and literally 2 days before we were supposed to close, the guy calls me, and he's my buyer, and he's like, hey, I got a new job, and I just decided that it's just too far, and I don't want to live there anymore. And I mean, this is 2 days. I'm like expecting, yeah. And I didn't have anything else in my pipeline. Yeah. So I was struggling.
Dude, I need paid on that. Yeah, I need to pay rent.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And so it was. I mean, now I'm consistent. Now I'm closing roughly about 2 to 3 deals a month.
That's awesome.
Which is great. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. But when you're not closing, you're not getting paid. And it was...
and you still need to put gas in your car, and you still need to pay your electric bills.
Still got to pay for your brokerage fees.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's another thing. I forgot about that, too. So
Yep.
You don't have to pay that anymore.
Yeah. There are pros and cons to both sides of the coin. The reason why I switched is I was in a different position than a lot of realtors, and I think that's also part of the reason why I had success. Buyers can sense desperation and greed, and there are agents out there that are eager to make that sale because they don't have anything in their pipeline, because they need the money for some expense. I honestly was like, I'm good. I'm doing this because I like people. I'm doing it because I love real estate. I mean, I would walk into every house and just be like, oh my God, I could live here. This is awesome.
I know, me too.
So it was more fun for me to go on a showing than the buyers.
Yeah.
And, people would say, hey, when you go into a house, don't point out things because you're not the one buying it. And I disagreed with that. I always had my position with my buyers were like, look, here's the deal. I'm going to think of your resale. And I know you're the one buying it, but I'm going to come in here, as we were taught, we're going to look for water leaks. We're going to look for things. And I'm going to point all those things out to you. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm trying to say this might be a problem if you call me in 5 years when you want to move.
Yes.
It's funny that you say that, because that's literally what I say to every single showing. I always tell people, my job is to look at this house and think about, when you call me in 5 years, if I can sell it.
Yeah.
That's literally the way I look at it, because I hope that they're going to call me.
Yeah, if I do a good job for you now. And I used to say, look, I don't want in 5 years, if you call me, and then you to be like, why can't we sell this? Why aren't people buying? Why aren't we getting offers? Yep. I want to put you in the best position. I want you to have a certain facing of your home directionally, because I know it'll bring in more buyers. I don't care if it has the best kitchen if there's a train track behind you.
Exactly.
It's
if the yard is really sloped, it's not going to sell as easy. You might get a discount, and if that's what you need, then that's fine. But like me pointing it out that's my job.
Yeah, and I need to think of you long term, the forest, not the tree.
Exactly.
I mean, the tree is getting you guys a house, and if you don't care about the yard, but the forest is going to be, you're going to want to sell this sometime, and you're probably going to have to take a price reduction or sit and wait a long time.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Tom, so let me ask you, if somebody new is coming into construction, who, let's say my clients, I'm bringing my clients. I know when we were on a team, sometimes they would talk about the things to do before you go to new construction. Call the on-site agent, do your homework. Now that you're sitting there, what would you recommend for somebody like myself, an agent who's maybe new to the community, doesn't know about it, is going to bring a client? Do you recommend we call you first, get the insight? What are some good things for us, some tips before we visit your community?
I think it's always great to make that call, because we have several different models.
Okay.
And for us to learn a bit, a lot of people just make an appointment and then they show up. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, you want townhouse? You want a single family? How big do you want? What's your budget? What's your timeline? If I get that call from either of you or any other agent for that matter, that's like, hey, I'm bringing someone in. They've got a tight budget. They're trying to fit in at $350 or $450, and they need to have a first floor master, and it needs to be east facing, and they need to move in it by March. I can do my homework on my inventory, and I can be ready when you show up. I'm making your appointment schedule fast. I'm not taking them into townhomes or smaller models.
Yes.
I know what they want. I could be like, guys, I spoke with your agent. She's awesome. Love Kathy. Her and I had a great conversation about you. I've got a couple of options that might fit your parameters of what you're looking at. Let's go check them out. And they're just kind of like, oh, wow, great. They think their agent's great because their agents did some homework ahead of time.
Right.
They're appreciative that I'm not wasting their time. She's not wasting their time. And they can get in and get out. If they don't like my stuff, they can move to their next appointment.
Yeah, and I think a lot of agents are getting nervous when they're talking to new construction or on-site agents because it's like, oh, what am I supposed to not tell them, you know? But I think to your point, like that's the whole point. We're both trying to sell a house.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not you against me. It's us trying to find a common goal for the end buyer. And honestly, I'm going to sit down and ask those buyers when they come in my office the same things that she told me.
Exactly.
So it's beneficial to have those conversations. And then when she comes in, I'll be like, oh, hey, Kathy, your agent is awesome.
And
I work with a lot of different.
They love it.
Yeah, I
You
work
do.
with a lot of different agents. I've worked with Kathy before. I know her. We talk. And I'm telling the truth because
Right.
she's called me. I've made a connection, and it does make a difference if you make the connection. But when you do call, just say, can you let me know what your current incentives are? So she can have a conversation. The agent wants to add value when they're walking around a community because you feel kind of like a tool when you're just sitting back and listening, and you're like, okay, I'm going to get paid if you like this.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's kind of uncomfortable. You want to add value. So when you are doing the tour with your client, quite often I'll stay downstairs and let them go up by themselves and give them some time to talk and look and then answer questions. That's a great opportunity for the agent to go upstairs and say, hey, like, just so you know, keep in mind when you're looking at this home, they're going to give you $10,000 in closing costs, or they're offering $5,000. But I looked and did my homework and saw they offered $7,500 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
So I'm going to ask for that. I can't promise I'll get you that, but I'm going to try to squeeze them as tight as I can, shake them upside down, get every penny out of them.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask for blinds. I'm going to ask for this stuff. Let them know that you know something about how it works, and that you're going to try to get them extras. And it makes them more comfortable with the buying thing. And when they're viewing the home, they have a different mindset because now they can envision, oh, I'm going to come in and maybe the blinds will be on, or I'll have new appliances so I can sell my appliances and get a little money and put that towards.
Right.
It's a great way to shine in front of your buyers.
Yeah, I
Because you
really,
want to add value.
yeah, no, I completely agree, and I hear you because I do the same thing where when I walk in a house, I try to have these ideas, like I already know what the incentives are. I talk to the on-site agent to learn a little bit because, yeah, you're right. When you're walking around a house and the on-site agent is just talking up a storm and you're just like,
Yeah.
you know.
Like, oh, where are we going next?
Yeah.
No,
Which model is this again?
It's important. It's important. You want tools in your tool bag to have success.
For sure.
And knowing those kind of things, and knowing a lot of agents, I can tell the difference of a good agent and a new agent because they'll sit in front of me and I'll get questions from experienced agents, like with the HOA dues. They have a one-time fee to fund the HOA.
Yeah, their capital
contribution fee. And a knowledgeable agent will say, what's your capital contribution fee? And then they'll make a note of it. And I'm like, okay, they're probably going to ask me for that in their offer. A new one pretty much sits back and I'll tell them, I'll say, look, sales have been brisk. The builder is going to protect the price of the home. They always do. They do it twofold. They do it for the builder. And they also do it for the guy who bought the same unit a week ago.
Exactly.
They're not going to sell it $10,000 less. They want appreciation. They want their comps to hold. So where you get your benefit with a builder is the things outside of that.
Yeah.
The lot premiums, the incentives that they throw. And a lot of agents, especially the new ones, don't know to ask. And sometimes I'm working for the builder. I want, I did what you guys did. I want people to get a deal, but I know it's a negotiation. But ultimately, I work for the builder. And if I can sell a place without putting a fridge, washer, and dryer in, the builder just made thousands of dollars extra.
Right.
And because the agent didn't ask.
Exactly.
Do you feel like it's just good to ask? I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask, right? Because I know sometimes when I go into new construction, because I would say about 80% of my business is new construction. And it's nice, kind of what you were talking to, when you get to know these specific builders and they know how we work. But then there's some times when I call and they're like, oh, no, we can't do this, we can't do that. And it's like, okay. Like, they don't even let you explain what your client wants. Or like, oh, yeah, in this community, it's a hot community, especially in Wake County.
It's true.
Wave Arena, we are not going to give a refrigerator. We're not going to do blinds. And it's like, okay. So
it is true. So it's funny because they're all publicly traded companies, right? So they have quarterly reports that are due to Wall Street, and they have certain numbers they need to hit. When you start to see incentives rise with a company, their sales are typically a little softer. So they do that to generate the sales. As the traffic comes in, say they offered $5,000 in closing and they sold maybe one extra home that period. Next time they might raise it to 75 to see if it moves the needle to 3 sales. If they're looking for 5 sales, they might raise it to 10. So when a community is really selling, the incentives kind of stop or slow down. And I know there were builders that I would go in and they're like, don't even try. We don't even do it. We're not even offering.
Yeah.
And that is difficult. And sadly, you want it to be a negotiation. You want to feel like your clients got a little something, that you were able to get them $1,000 off or their HOA dues covered or something like that. You need to pivot when they don't say that they'll give fridge, washer, and dryer or blinds or something like that. What else can you do? Can you waive the capital contribution? Can you help us out with HOA dues? Is there something you can do? We're this close. I think I can get my buyers over the line if you can give me a little something. They want to hear that because every week things change in new construction. You can have a plan, and then all of a sudden when they have their sales meeting management and they're like, okay, we need 2 more closings for the end of the month, or we need 5 more sales before the end of the month, they're going to be more motivated then to make a deal with you than they might have been 3 days earlier.
Right. So would you say that like end of month, like end of quarter, end of year is like ideal time, or?
So generally speaking, you would think it would be, but if a builder's already hit his numbers for the month, they're not that motivated to make another sale. They would rather push it to next month because they don't know what's coming next month. Is a snowstorm going to come and shut the place down for 2 weeks? They're always moving their numbers around. And I'm not speaking just specifically for the builder I work for because I'm not privy to all that. But my understanding in the industry is that that's how they operate. So we're going to be at the end of the first quarter. So companies are looking at their quarterly reports. So they want to hit their metrics. So if they've hit them, they're going to try to push into the next quarter to make sure they hit that quarter. If they're soft, they're going to be willing to throw in a fridge or a washer and dryer. I try to tell the agents up front, we've cut incentives. Demand's pretty strong in here. We've moved a lot of properties. There's just not a lot of meat on the bone. They've dropped their prices to, there's just not a lot of room to give. There may be something we can do, but the price is going to remain pretty firm. And I'm just trying to manage expectations, and I would hope that agent would convey that to their buyer.
Right.
So, I mean, it's...
When you go to new construction, I'll ask for anything. I'll ask for a lower price. I'll ask for concessions. I'll ask for anything because with builders, there's no emotion. Every single thing is, look, this is the numbers. This is what it is. So, if you come back and say, no, I can't do that, that's fine because you're not going to not sell it. You're not going to get emotionally invested and go, I don't like you now.
So it's a great thing that you said that because there is a saying, I'm Canadian, and Wayne Gretzky was one of the best hockey players ever, and he had a statement that said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So if you don't ask me, you don't know.
Exactly.
And sometimes what a builder will say, okay, you asked for 4 things. You asked for fridge, washer, dryer, blinds, and an HOA do. We'll let you have 2 of the 4. You guys choose.
Yeah.
So,
Down for it.
but if you didn't ask, and then you get to go back to your client and said, look, they're willing, they're bending here a little. They will give you 2 things. You choose. I suggest you take the ones with the greatest value.
And it makes us look good.
It does.
And I love looking good.
We all do. And that's why I would have
Yeah.
a talk with the agent. I would be like, hey, like, what can I ask for that you might throw in just to make me look like I add value? And I used to do that to agents.
Yeah.
And I love the transparency because I think with the on-site agents, they appreciate it too. Because we have to remind the clients that, and I say this all the time, like together, the on-site agent and I, we're here, we're going to work together along with the loan officer. Our goal is to get you those keys. And so I think a lot of my clients feel comfortable when they see the on-site agent and the agent working together for the common goal. So I think it's super important to go in there, have conversations with you guys, be transparent. Look, this is my client's budget. This is what they need. This is what they want. Do you have that, right? And I think it also looks good when you look prepared. You bring in your clients. We look like we have great rapport, and they just, I think, feel a little bit more comfortable.
You need to do your homework and know the product that's
Yeah.
out there. Like when someone comes to you and says, I want a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home in Cary, you're going on the MLS and filtering and going through it all. When you're trying to steer business to new construction, which is a great move for any realtor, know your product. Don't just drive past that neighborhood. Poke your head in. Have
Yeah.
a $5 gift card from Starbucks in your car and go, hey, can I have 5 minutes? I want to learn about your product and sell. And know what builders have the best incentives. It doesn't take long for you to jump online because a builder will post their incentives on their website. You can bookmark all the big builders, Pulte, Lennar, everybody.
Yeah.
And just once a week, just click on them and say, did they change them? Do it on a Wednesday because they usually just, they want to gear up in time for the weekend. They want that message out there. And a lot of times they'll meet on Mondays or Tuesdays, the management. But it's good to know your product and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's good if you take a screenshot of what their incentives were, because then you can look back and go, wow, a week ago they were only $5,000, now they're $75,000. I might be able to get a little more going in that community because they seem a little more motivated to move their product.
That's a good idea. Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
And it's basic homework. It's so easy. You just bookmark the
Yeah, bookmark
companies.
website.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just looking at it and
or
seeing what's
make
going
an
on.
Excel sheet and just plug your numbers in. It takes 5 minutes once a week, and you can track them over time and go, it seems January is when I can get the best. Like, knowledge is power, and if you guys have that, it's going to benefit you and your clients.
Yeah, no, I
So,
totally agree with
yeah.
you. Yeah. So,
Sorry to tell all my secrets. I didn't tell them all.
No,
Fired.
this is
You're
good.
fired.
This is good.
well, there's still the one we edited out.
All right. Oh yeah. Hey. So actually, getting back to one thing, I didn't really need to be selling, and I did the general brokerage, and I had a lot of success. I did, I think, 23 deals from December till April 15th, and it killed me. I was gone. I was working crazy hours, and when I'd come home, I'd sit on my computer. And I did it to prove to myself that I could do it, and I did it to prove to the people that I worked with that I could do it, and hopefully it inspired some, but it burnt me out. And along the way, you get people that you work with that can be very, very difficult and trying. And I was done. I was burnt out. So I sat back and I mentored a little bit, which made me feel good because I like to share the things that I learned on my journey. And then I ended up buying a place in Angier. I sold in Cary and bought in Angier, and I was down there, and I was like, I don't want to be trucking up to Wake Forest and Cary and Durham and stuff from here. What do I want to do? And I'd been approached during my days in general brokerage by builders saying, hey, if you ever want a job. So I interviewed, and I didn't just want to take a job with any of them. As a realtor, some builders are better than other builders and
100%.
stuff. So I started interviewing people that worked in the sales offices and stuff where I was considering and trying to get their opinion on what it's like to be an employee there and stuff. And I settled on one which has a great reputation for those out there. It is America's most trusted builder, 10 years running.
10 years running.
No other builder has done that 2 years running.
That's
So
awesome.
the reason why I chose that is because I wanted to work with and for a company that when a buyer came in and bought one of our products, I was going to be able to greet them if they came back in, because I knew they were going to back up and support any issue that that buyer might have. Mm-hmm. And there are builders out there, and I know because I've bought from one of them for a home for my daughter at ECU, that it's difficult to get things fixed and repaired and repaired properly. So I wanted to be in a place that I thought was pretty reputable, and it also happens to be 2.6 miles from my house.
That doesn't hurt either.
And I wanted to give it a shot. I wanted to see how I like it. And I started, and just so you know, a lot of you people out there that try to go to new construction, I didn't get to just jump right in, even though I had experience, and be a salesperson. I was willing to take a job as a CSA, a community sales assistant. And what I did is I covered 2 different communities for the agent's day off. I was Monday and Tuesday in Sanford, Thursday and Friday in Angier. And I made a very minimal hourly rate doing that. There was a slight commission, but I mean, those were some small paychecks. And I did that from August till January 1st. I put in my time. I logged those hours. I learned as much as I could. And then I hit the floor in sales. And it set me up for success, having the exposure to the product so I could know my product. And that's a great thing about new construction. You guys have to know all the inventory. You walk into a home, you're seeing 5 homes in a day on a weekend with a client. You don't know what you're walking into. They're like, where's the kitchen? You're like, I don't know, give me a second. I didn't have a chance to look. Where's the master? Is that the master? I don't know. But I have a handful of products that I can intimately know. I can ramble off the square footage, the price, the base price. I can talk about some of the extras and the costs for those. And it's really great because I can also be on site and be with the builder and see the construction phase and pop in and go, why is that there? Why do we do that? And I didn't see that elsewhere. And I can use that when I'm talking to, potential customers. So.
Looking back now, do you think you should have started in new construction then made your way to general brokerage, or vice versa?
No, I think I love having gone to general brokerage first because I understand your position on the other side of the table.
Good.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A big learning curve for me was trying not to be on the other side of the table, reminding myself that, hey, man, you might love this young couple who are buying their first home and you feel sorry for them because they just lost their parents or whatever, and I emotionally connect with them, and I want to be, oh, my God, can I just give you the townhouse?
Right.
Yeah.
But I needed to remind myself. But it also allowed me to act. If you brought me a client, I knew if I was on the other side of the table how I would want to be treated.
Yes, I love that.
And so I can put on a show and just not really a show. It's usually truthful because I know you. And I'd be like, oh, my God, great to see you. You're a fantastic agent. I'll compliment the buyers for working with them. And I'll be like, she is so amazing.
Yeah. And it really does matter because I have 2 new constructions. One just closed, one closes next week. And I have...
You're buying coffee. This was $8, so you should have hooked me up.
She's treating lunch.
Hey, where's the bottle of booze? Oh, it's under Kathy's chair.
It's under my chair.
But yeah.
Edit.
But for real, it really does matter because I have one of the agents is Gio, and he has been phenomenal. He's called me every step of the way. Obviously he's working for the seller, but he's there for me. And even when we come into the community, there was one house that the one we ended up getting literally was under contract, fell out under contract, and it wasn't even on the market. And he's like, hey, just so you know, that house over there is 3.99%. And we went over and immediately fell in love with it and loved it. But then I have another agent who it's not been the same. I've had to multiple times message her and ask for basic details, and she would answer. I literally would list out my questions: question 1, question 2.
Oh, doesn't that drive you nuts? Answer 1 and send it back, and you're like, hello.
Yes.
I put bullet points. I numbered them.
So can you help me?
I have 2 questions.
Why do I not have 2 answers?
Oh, that drives a pet peeve of mine.
So I think regardless of whatever you go into as far as an agent, be a real human being, do a good job. These are people are buying houses, and it's important. And from your perspective, you understand that the agent on the other side is trying to get this deal closed too. You get it. You understand.
Well, it's reputation too. She might say, oh my God, if you go down to Anger, work with Tom. That guy
Yes.
sent pictures, weekly pictures of the build process to my buyers. They always knew where they were. They loved him. He went above and beyond. And she might say that to you. And then if you're coming down, you might come in and see me. And,
Right.
and that benefits me too. So it's crazy. I mean, I remember when I was working with you guys, homes were flying off the shelf. And there was a builder that said, okay, we're releasing at 5 o'clock Sunday night.
Oh gosh.
Appointments.
Uh-huh.
If you want one of our townhouses that we're going to release the next block of 5. 5 o'clock, I'm sitting there on my computer banging away on it and stuff. And I ended up getting the second position.
Nice.
An agent from our company got the first position. I found out how she did it. And you're out there and you know what you did. But anyway, so we were to disclose which unit we were going to come in and see on the Monday. And her buyer wanted one or the other. She didn't really care. My buyer was very specific. It had to be that end unit on that side facing that way. So the guy sitting, the sales agent, knew he's got a 9 o'clock appointment, wants either unit 1 or 3. My number 2 guy only wanted unit 1. So what does he do? He sits down and says to the buyer, hey, the people behind you all seem to want 1, so you should probably lock 1 up.
Oh gosh.
And I thought that was the stupidest move of a salesperson
dumb.
ever. When you knew you guaranteed had 1 sold to somebody else, and the middle unit might have been more difficult to sell the middle one out of the gate.
That's crazy.
It was crazy. And that agent never responded to calls, did exactly the same thing. It was the most frustrating experience I'd ever had with an agent. And he was also the most pompous, arrogant agent I had ever worked with. And I couldn't understand why. Wasn't good looking.
Shorty.
Wasn't well.
Was he short?
wasn't well spoken. Didn't communicate well. I honestly, there's a difference in agents and having relationships, really, because if we do have a property come up like that agent said to you, hey, I got one that just came back to me. It's at $399. You should jump on it. It's going to be gone by the weekend.
Yeah.
Then you can go to your database and show everybody and send them the link to that home and say, look, this just fell to me.
Yep.
I know the agent. We're getting a sneak advance peek before it hits the market. It's going back on the MLS on Thursday. If you want to get in, let's go see it. A great way for you to add value, but it was because you had a relationship with that agent that he thought to reach out to you.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because literally an agent sent me, I think it was like yesterday or the day before yesterday, agent sent me their specials, their incentives, and their special interest rate, and was like, hey, like here we have this going on. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Can I share this on my social media? And he's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely.
More sight, more eyes.
It's something for me to give and add value to people, potential leads.
And it helped him.
And so, you know, I think like realizing that the people on the other side of the transaction, unless they're just crazy, like, you know, this guy, 9 times out of 10, the person on the other transaction is just there with you. They want to close. They want to help you.
Yeah, you got to work together.
Together. Yeah.
It's like we're close. What do we have to do to make this happen?
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
And so when I was in general brokerage, you would have your database of people that you're working with. And I remember I would sit down on a Saturday morning or Tuesday morning, whatever morning, with a coffee, and I'd look at things trying to figure out, okay, they're 400,000 in the Clayton area. They're 300,000 in the Anger area. They're 800,000 in Cary. What do I have? I loved when builders or the on-site agent would send me their current inventory list. It would show the square footage of the home. It would show when it was ready. It would show the price. It would have the incentives. And quite often it could show the direction of the home, which mattered to some buyers. So I would sit down, I'd print that off, or I'd look at it on my iPad and go, oh, they've got homes under 300 in Anger. That's perfect. I've got a buyer for that.
Exactly.
So now I knew, okay, I'm going there. I loved having those sheets. I try to send them out. I'm not as great. I don't want to bombard people and annoy them, even though I know they can opt out of my email. But I need to be better at that. I started to do that a lot, and it drove a lot of traffic to our neighborhood because people don't realize if they're looking in Fuquay, that I'm less than 10 minutes down the road, depending on where they are in Fuquay. And I'm actually closer than parts of Fuquay because they're southern. So parts of Fuquay are south of where I am. So it's a great way for you if you call an agent and say, hey, I just want to be added on a list, or hey, can you just email me your current inventory?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, because that's a great weapon or a tool to have in your bag that you can look at. Oh, I remember there was someone who had the fours in Clayton, and I have 3 sheets of paper from 3 different builders. Let's see if any of them are in the fours. And then,
and you have like that, because I think a lot of times when I go and I look for new construction on our MLS, it's not quite set up to show you exactly what the incentives are, what's going on.
No, it doesn't. You have to like click on it and read the agent remarks.
Exactly, and the thing of it
that's
is,
tedious.
Yeah, and getting back to what we were talking about at the very beginning of this podcast is, if you have somebody with a lower sales price, but then you go into new construction and you can get that lower interest rate. So I think like people realizing that, agents realizing that, and increasing that purchase price and looking for the homes in that area.
Yeah, not just looking 300 and below, go up to 325. And I used to tell my buyers, hey, I'm not trying to push you into a next bucket. Right. But what I'm afraid of putting at 300, I'm going to lose the one that's 301, 303, 305, that maybe we can negotiate to 3.
Yep.
So I'm going to expand the bucket. But yeah, agents not being aware that when there is a great interest rate, ultimately the buyer isn't so concerned about the price. They're more concerned about what the cost is to them each month for that mortgage.
Exactly.
So if they realize that, hey, even though their pre-qual from Coastal Federal is 300, that's based on 7%. I can go here and get 5%, and now I should be able to show them a home 325, 350.
Yeah, which is beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah, it opens up a whole new pool to you.
Yes.
Exactly, and the difference in a house at 275 versus 300, or 300 versus 325, it could be a major difference.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like I just said, when we were looking at those houses, we're looking at manufactured homes, and that's the only thing they can afford. I'm like, crap, like it sucks, Walk into a 1970s manufactured home. Yeah, it's a double wide, but I know that the value is not going to remain with this property.
Yeah.
It's not going to increase.
Harder to insure.
Exactly.
Yeah, lots of things.
At the same rate, harder to get a loan.
Yeah.
A lot of lenders will only do 15-year loans on
because they're going to fall apart or get blown away by a tornado.
Exactly. So I think like having that knowledge, exactly, having that knowledge is really, really good. And yeah, so do you have any like big goals for this year in new construction?
No, I mean, that was always my Achilles heel when I was in general brokerage too, because everyone's like, what's your goal? What's your number? What do you want? How many dollars do you want to make? How many units do you want to move? And I didn't care. I just wanted to do my job, and if I did my job well, success would follow. And in this, I have a quota each month as a salesperson. Knock on wood, to date, I've been able to meet or exceed that. So
heck yeah, you have.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. But there's so much to learn in this industry. You guys have been in it for years, and no 2 deals are alike, and there can be some little. I did a deal one time where we didn't know that the seller had done a quitclaim deed over to a contractor on the house. Ooh. We went to close, and they're like, no, on that type of loan, it has to be 90 days passed before a title change. So it jammed me up right at close. And it's like those little nuances and things that happen, they happen more so on your side than mine. But those things happen. So I still want to learn that stuff. I'm going to do it for as long as I enjoy it, and when it becomes less like when it just loses its luster and it's driving me nuts, I would be open to trying something else. I'm just at the point where it's just like, there's so many different ways you can go with a real estate license.
That's true.
So many different things you can do.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sophia, that's what she's in.
Yeah, on the land.
Yeah, she's.
How cool is that?
I know.
I love our land department. I'm always in their ear going, so how much do you pay? How do you find it? What are you looking for?
Yeah.
How much does it cost to develop? Did you just buy the land and someone else develops? Like I eat that up. I'm like,
Yeah, she really likes it too. At first, she didn't really like it because it was just a bunch of Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah.
And when you're just looking at Excel spreadsheets that don't make any sense, then it's not fun.
No.
But if you're looking at an Excel spreadsheet and all of a sudden you understand it,
Yeah, and you're like,
gets a lot more fun.
oh, we just hit the margin we
Yes.
want on this property. This is
Yeah.
fun. Let's buy this.
Yeah, and she did the same thing with you, where it really did matter to her like what builder she chose, because she works at DRB, and
Yep.
their
Dan Ryan Builder.
product is good.
Yeah.
I mean, you go
And their price is good.
exactly
Good builder.
exactly, and when you go to different
Plug.
cheaper when you go to different cheaper builders, you see the difference in the product. I mean,
Oh, you sure
the
do.
quality.
Yeah.
And it's not just the product and the quality. It's the interaction with the sales team, the interaction with the builder when your buyer gets passed down to the builder who's going to give them the orientation on the home. And then on the warranty department. And the warranty person might be great, but do they act quickly? Do they resolve it? And do they resolve it to a level that's meeting your satisfaction? And there's a difference in quality all the way through the process, not just the home. So, because it's a corporate thing. And I mean, we talk about it in the building industry. When you're a big national builder, if you're moving $40,000, 40,000 units, 40,000 homes, and some of the big builders do that in a year, some more. Every $10 you save on a house, that's big money to their bottom line. So there are people, and it came up on the call, that their job is analytics, looking at those spreadsheets, trying to figure out a way. Is there a way to save money? And they're doing the surveys that came up on the call. Because if they're spending dollars on something that the buyer isn't even aware, or it doesn't add any perceived value to the buyer, why are they putting it in? So they can take it out and be more profitable.
Yeah, well, and that's something that I've learned like through Sophia is there are so many different variables that have to be, you know, she's like they're little levers, and if you pull one up, one goes down. So you have to like really figure it out. And what she does, her role is basically she does CMAs, but she does CMAs for every new construction community in the entire Triangle area.
Holy cow.
So like if I have a new construction question, I immediately go to her and I'm like, hey, do you know about this community?
Yeah, no brainer.
Yeah.
She knows about it.
She does,
Oh,
and she
yeah.
can tell me the incentives, and she can tell me what they're doing, because when you're buying raw land to put new homes on, it really is like you have to know exactly what every single thing. How big can you have it? What's 30 unit or
what are the
30
zoning
meter?
for that for that town or whatever?
Yeah, exactly. And so like, yeah.
What's the competition there? That's huge.
That's
because
the big one.
a new emerging market like, okay, Cary, if you can buy a parcel of land in Cary that you can put homes in, you can write your price tag on whatever you want to sell those for. And there's such a demand to be there, someone's going to pay your number. When it's a new emerging market like an Anger, a lot of builders go down there. It's their first foray into that community. They don't necessarily know the price point. They don't know their buyer that well. So they all go down there and they think it's less affluent. So they, make townhome communities. And then all of a sudden you've got 5, 6, 7 builders down there all doing townhomes, and they're all beating each other for price. It's like a gas station on 4 corners. One guy's going to lower, and the rest are going to follow. So it's kind of a neat process. So that CMA that she's doing, like, she needs to know what my company's giving away.
Yeah, exactly. She actually, one of the things she does is she goes around to different.
I haven't seen her. Tell her to stop in.
Yeah, I thought for some reason I thought she had.
She hadn't seen me. She might have saw my partner, but if she came in, I'd be like, go away, go. Now we actually, as builders, we talk to the other salespeople in the other offices, because we are required for our community to do our own CMAs of our direct competition, because that needs to be communicated to management.
Right.
And it has to be done. We do it monthly because incentives are changing.
Oh, yeah.
And we will ask a buyer if they've come in, hey, are you still in the market? No, we ended up buying. Oh, where did you happen to buy? What did you end up getting? And we keep track of where we're losing sales to. And then we'll kind of do a little deep dive into those and say, and typically it's what they're giving as incentives.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love incentives.
Yeah, and you should. And buyers should love them. They should eat them up, because they can't get those
Yeah.
from from
regular resale homes.
Yeah.
I felt so bad because, like, literally this past month, I think, like I said, I had 2 clients that was working with my lender, and she worked so hard, and we had went and looked at houses.
And you look at new construction, and she doesn't get paid.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm really sorry. Like, I am so sorry, but you can't do 3.99, so I'm gonna have to.
I will tell you something that people don't know is quite often when they quote you a rate. If you kind of push back on that a little bit, I have seen cases. I don't know if it's industry wide and they're going to try to get the highest rate because it's easier to sell on the back end. But I have seen situations where lenders have been like, can you do better? Can you squeeze? Is there any way you can do 6.25 instead of 6.5? And if they want the business, some of them have been willing. So don't be afraid when you, I don't know, I'm not a lender, so I can't speak to that, but at least get your buyers when they do get a quote. If they are working with, even if it's your preferred lender, sometimes they have a little meat on the bone that they might be willing to share.
Yeah.
Because there's big money in those loans.
Yeah, huge
yeah.
money.
Which is, I can't understand why outside lenders can't cough up something.
I-
Because they don't hold the loan. That's probably why.
Yeah. But
A lot of lenders will sell that loan.
yeah,
Pretty quick too.
most
Yeah.
of them.
I think
I
now
had
they're
one
giving
that
heads
changed
up.
3 times in like a
Really?
year. I'm like, stop.
Mine did.
Please change your auto payment.
Wow.
I'm like, no.
Yeah, mine actually did. When I bought my first home, my loan changed like 3 different times, like 3 months in a row.
Yeah,
I
I
was
was almost the same. And it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know who I'm supposed to pay and when.
Literally.
Oh,
I
if
did
you're
the same
paying,
thing.
just continue to pay and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. Just call me when I owe you money.
Yeah, that's literally.
I'm not home. Go away.
Yeah, I'm not home.
Yeah, no, thank you. Just kidding. Bye. See you later. Yeah, no, I think that's. Which, I mean, loans get sold all the time, but.
Yeah, it's frustrating though. I don't know why they don't have one major company that handles all the loans, right? So you send your check to ABC company, and then underneath that, ABC company knows that Kathy Garcia's loan is owned by Megan. So the money comes into ABC, and then they shoot it to Megan.
I love it.
So
when
no
money
matter
gets
how many
shot to
times
me.
it sells. What?
I love it when money gets shot.
Yeah, I would like that too. That's awesome. Usually it's just going out of my pocket.
Yeah. My favorite
Like,
way
oof.
to make money is when I sleep.
Yeah, well.
You own rental properties, right?
I do.
How many do you have now?
5 or 6, I think we're at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4. 4?
I have 4.
4 or 5. Yeah, 5.
Yeah, I have 4. Because
Look at you building your empire.
I am building an empire.
Don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait.
Yes, exactly. I saw this thing this morning. It was a guy, and he is a financial guru. I can't remember his name, but he said that he genuinely thinks that in the next 10 years, home values will double. I agree with him.
That'd be great. I mean, rents should
It'll be
double. If
great
you raise your
for-
rent every
Yeah.
10% every year,
Yeah, it'll be great for
You'll get
homeowners.
Yeah.
It will not be great for people that are not homeowners.
yeah.
Which is
Exactly.
why I'm trying really, really hard to get people into houses because I know the power of owning homes. It's worked for me.
Yeah, a lot of my wealth was built from having success in real estate,
Same.
taking chances and making sacrifices.
Yeah, and I think
Sorry.
no, I was just gonna say I think like just like with your community, it's a little bit outside of Fuquay, but realizing that you just buy the house, like stay there 5 years. It's not your forever home.
So funny you say that. I was in Cary, and I had a single family home, and it was a decent sized home, and it was a nice home, and I sold that, and for a little bit more, and I was on a half acre in Cary. For a little bit more, I got 8 acres, custom built, all brick home, pool house, 5-car garage, barn, pond, fenced, my own road, like my own paved drive. Like, it's unbelievable.
When's the party?
Yeah, it was November 2nd when I got married. So, but the funny thing is, I remember moving here in 2005. Everyone wanted Cary. It got expensive, so the overflow went. And I always say this to my buyers: Cary's a bullseye. Apex and Holly Springs grew because Cary was overpriced, and then Apex and Holly Springs were so expensive that people went to Fuquay. And 10 years ago in Fuquay, if you went there, you'd be like, well, what's out here? Who would live out here? And now you look at Fuquay, and it's the next Holly Springs.
It's booming out
and
there.
it's popping. And with 70 people moving into the triangle for every one moving out, if you look at a map and look for green and Raleigh's there, it's only east of Raleigh that there's room and southeast. Mm-hmm. So I was like, you know what? I don't have kids. I want to live in the country. I want to have a little land. It's the way I grew up. I did it, but I also did it thinking it's going to be a home run for me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's why my house in Creedmoor, I thought the same thing. Like, I still feel that way. Like, Creedmoor, I feel like the north side.
North of Raleigh.
Yeah. I feel like the north side of the triangle is just not really touched that much.
Yeah, up to,
Franklinton.
And where the drive-in theater is up in, starts with an H, I can't remember.
Henderson?
Yeah.
Yeah. Henderson, Oxford, Creedmoor, Butner, Franklinton, all those areas are really untapped.
Yeah.
Like it's Cary is the spot you want to be.
It is because of its proximity to RTP.
Right.
And Raleigh.
Right, exactly.
And highways.
Yeah, and so I think but for people understanding that you might not be able to purchase in Cary or Apex, but
get in the game.
Get in the game. Get in there.
Build some equity, and then maybe you can. And the one thing, it's funny, you look at the apartments that are in like Preston and stuff, and they're $1,800. They're over $2,000 for those apartments. Those are a great source of leads for you to get in and say, hey guys, if you're willing to drive a little bit, if you're working from home and you're here, but you're ready to move, I can get you in a house for almost that price.
Yep, exactly.
That's true.
So you just need a little down payment. Nobody lives in a townhome or an apartment. Well, I won't say they don't live, but they don't want it. I mean, that's usually a stepping stone.
Stepping stone to the
So get to them there where they're at.
Yeah, and if you really want to, buy something, just call Tom.
There you go. Come see me. I'll give you a big house for a low price. Come on down.
He's actually, you can't see it, but he's waving his arms right now.
So I'm Canadian. We had a show called Second City TV, SCTV, and there used to be a little skit on there called Tex and Edna's Organ Emporium, and it's like, come on down with a big piano for a low price. So
I feel good about it.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I think I've learned something from it for sure. So
cool.
I genuinely appreciate you being here. And
cool. I hope I don't get fired for what I shared. But
nope. You don't work anywhere.
There you go. I did not disclose the builder's name, but I gave you a hint.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Just look up the best.
Come see me. Hook up these two ladies.
Yep.
They'll bring you my way.
We appreciate you coming out and just sharing.
It's
all
awesome.
the things.
Never done this before, so thank you.
I'm excited. Well,
you,
first for all of us.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being our very first guest.
Yay!
The cameo.
The cameo.
So
all right.
want to say goodbye.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Thank
y'all.
you.
Absolutely.